This is the thing. Who you choose to hang around with, who you choose to have in your posse is exactly who you become. Choose your posse wisely. I'm here to tell you that putting yourself first is not selfish, it's revolutionary. Welcome to the Ayurvedic Woman Podcast, empowering women to light their lives on fire through Ayurveda, yoga, spirituality, and fitness. Jai Bhagwan, Woman Warriors, and welcome to the Ayurvedic Woman Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Satyavani, and my co-host here,
Prajna Madhavi.
And we are thrilled to have you here as always. Thank you for tuning in. So for those of you that are just catching up, we have a beautiful new podcast studio. How great is this?
It's so wonderful.
Oh my God.
So professional.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. So if you are in the greater Boise area and maybe I shouldn't promote this. I don't know. Roberto, I don't know if I know we're doing it. We're going with it. If you're in the greater Boise area and you want to record a podcast, the place to be is SB Studios up here on the Boise bench.
Mm-hmm. Good
times. Oh, so we have a really good discussion for you today. I'm very excited. We're going to talk about the energy body, the Prajna. No, I'm kidding. The Pranamaya Kasha, because you're like my energy.
Yeah.
The Pranamaya Kasha. But before we get started, let's do a wellness check-in.
Okay.
So what's going on with you this week, girl? Because you went back to school.
I did.
After spring break.
Yeah, I went back to school.
How was that?
It was fine, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
weren't psyched about it on Sunday when we talked.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Anytime you get time off, it's like, oh, now I got to go back. It's terrible. But it's not, everybody's there. Like, we're all here together. None of us really likes it, but here we are. No, it's also been nice that the weather was not superb this week, so I don't really feel like I'm missing out on anything. So that's nice.
Great highlight.
I had a couple teachers that come in and take my yoga class. Their spring break was this week. And
really?
Like, you guys got all the good weather. Like, yes, we did.
Yep.
So that was kind of, yeah. It's okay when you're inside and the weather's kind of crappy. But,
totally.
No, I would say physically.
Who had off? I'm sorry. Who had off this week?
Oh, they're.
Is it private schools?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of a charter. It's
Okay.
Yeah, definitely not one of the big.
Okay, because I was going to say I thought Ada County and
Boise and West Ada.
They finally synced up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Okay.
As far as I know, anyway.
All right.
So. Yeah.
Okay. So more charter, independent, private school thing.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
probably the Catholics because Sunday is Easter.
Yeah. It's also it's kind of a high risk school from what I understand.
Okay.
Is what they deal with.
Okay.
So.
So they decided to have spring break in another week so they didn't mix with the other kids.
Yeah. You can't mix with other too high risk. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I would say overall, it's been a really good week. Physically, I'm feeling good.
Excellent.
I had, as I mentioned yesterday, the 8 years ago, my husband passed away yesterday. So that was,
I'm sorry.
It's just something that I'm always a pretty private about that kind of stuff. I don't really like to broadcast how I'm feeling about all of it, but
and now everybody on the podcast.
And now everybody, because again, being authentic and leading by example, and not trying to hide from it, but it was really nice it's nice to be able to share it and make it mean something, because he was, just an awesome person and a really influential person in my life, and
it's amazing.
Even saying that it was 8 years ago, it still means something, and
yes, it does.
It's still a big part. So it's nice to bring some power to it, I suppose.
You know what I think is awesome is that let's dedicate today's podcast to Joe.
Okay.
Because we're going to be talking about the energy body, and like transition is one of the ultimate, levels of energy. So
you're right.
Yeah. So
I love that. Yeah.
You're a strong gal, and I wow, genuflect. Bow to your greatness on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would say having the Dharma circle this week was really nice.
Wasn't that awesome?
Yeah. They were really, really a great group of gals, and really excited to I wouldn't even say necessarily lead. It's more of just a journey with them together.
It feels that way.
Yeah.
Doesn't like this is a leveled up group of gals for sure.
Yep.
And it does. It feels like we're all kind of in this circle.
Yeah.
Together doing
Like
things. So.
we create the topics
Yep.
and then you guys just kind of go with it and
Yep.
bring input where you feel like you can. So
Could not agree more.
Yep.
It was really great.
Yeah.
The good news about all of that, and yes, I'm going to do a PSA since we're here.
Why not?
So the good news is that the Dharma Circle, which is a year-long journey with a group of women online from around the country that are wanting to live a full life of purpose, and we're having that discussion. We have a retreat in August, all of that stuff. The good news is that we are going to provide an opportunity through our Woman Warrior Academy online circle for everybody out there who is interested in starting to live this very dharmically driven life. And, how do we do that on all of the levels and all the layers of the self, the physical, the energetic, mental, emotional, our level of awareness, and our spiritual selves. And so those of you that are out there, the Woman Warrior Academy circle is coming to fruition and will be a membership organization or membership circle that's online that we're hoping to attract all of these different women from around the country. And so if you are interested in getting information about that, go to the womanwarrioracademy.com and you'll see a little pop-up that will come on the page that says, hey, I'm interested in the online Woman Warrior Circle. And then just fill out the very brief page, which is name, phone number, and email. And when it gets ready to pop, which we're targeting May, when it gets ready to pop, then we will send out information about it. So, and as a result, you get a free copy of my book.
Which you are going to read from today.
I am.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? You know, it's funny. I was reviewing one of the chapters because, the one that we're going to read today, I was like, oh my God, I actually wrote this stuff. It's weird. It's really weird.
I'm sure it is.
It's kind of weird because I remember when I wrote my dissertation, and at the time I was like, oh, I'm going to write this, and you go to the committee and you defend it and the whole thing, et cetera. And then I picked it up like a year later, just because I was like cleaning out my closets and getting rid of papers. And I read it. I'm like, ooh, I wrote that. That was terrible. But this I actually don't feel that way about. So
good.
Anyway, but continue. Wellness check-in. Keep going.
Yeah. So mentally that keeps me, I think the Dharma Circle keeps me stimulated and at work. Got to talk about globalization, international trade today, which is always kind of fun and fascinating.
Okay.
And challenging. There's some concepts in there that I'm not the strongest about. So it's nice when they're getting it and it's making sense to them that I feel like I'm doing my job and teaching it. And then kind of throwing in like, okay, now here's a little bit more that I don't know a lot. So you can add in, videos or resources where they can look some more stuff up.
Excellent. And what was the takeaway? Like, what was the main core of the lesson today that like the students glommed onto?
The most difficult is comparative advantage. So the overall takeaway is when countries trade, ideally they create wealth.
Yep.
And so that's kind of the purpose of, and I always try to say there is a caveat to that it's not a perfect system. And with globalization, there's also drawbacks, and try to bring up a lot of that stuff with, third world countries, no labor laws. And so a lot of jobs, go there, and just talked a lot about that.
The United States is great at taking advantage of that.
We're really good at doing that. But through comparative advantage, like you have something I want, I have something you want, we trade, we create, wealth for the two of us. And so that was the main takeaway.
Awesome.
With a little calculation on how to figure out what comparative advantage is and how to calculate it. And that's always the challenging part for me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's fractions involved, which is very fun.
Yeah.
Ooh. So
I'll stick to the simple math.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a fraction. Oh my goodness. What else?
On a spiritual level, that's where I want to kind of get a little bit more. I'm glad we're doing the Dharma circle because I want to get a little bit more into practices. Like you mentioned last night, light a candle for Joe. And I'm like, okay, do I have time for that? And I'm like, you know what? Yeah.
Yes, you do.
How hard is it to light a candle?
It's called lighter.
Yeah.
Candle.
So it was like, but that's, those are the little things I usually skip over if I don't have time, but I have to see that, spiritual significance of it.
Absolutely.
Like, this is why I'm doing it. And it just made me feel better doing it. And something just so simple.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Awesome.
How about you?
Ooh, it's been a week.
Yeah.
And you know that. So this was one of those May Day weeks. May Day, help me. So today's Friday. So Sunday will be the completion of my 4th full week of the shred/cutting phase. Got 8 weeks to go. And, it's very interesting. I was thinking about this, how I was last year and in week 4. And it seems like week 4 is kind of the hump where I get tired. I get tired and a little cranky. And then, how should I say? I don't feel like, I'm like, is something happening? Is something changing, et cetera? And I don't want to be one of those like, it's, why isn't it changing? It's only been 4 weeks. But when you are really working super hard and, it's going on and on and on, it's like, is anything changing? And then you get into that vata heady space of like, why am I doing this? And is there really a point? And
I've never been there.
Never at all. I know. Why am I doing this? Is there a point? And why don't I just eat cookies? But and that's when I reached out and I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm at a low. I don't feel like anything is changing. And then you highlighted like, maybe you actually just need a day off and just rest. And that actually made a world of difference. And then on top of it, I was planning this trip to San Diego. So I was trying to get all of these things done before going there to see my family. And that was just stressful. But the trip actually got canceled, as you know. So that created a high sense of relief, because what I actually came to in my mind, because this happened last year at the same time, that I cannot travel during shred. Like it has to be, because you get out of routine, the whole thing. And then like, especially when I go to San Diego, because my family is on all different kinds of schedules, and it's like, oh, what am I going to eat? And, and that's an essential part of the whole process, et cetera. So I'm glad I'm not going.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that I have to worry about. And I took a couple of rest days, which was really nice. Of course, a rest day is, relative for me at this stage. But this was the wicked thing. So I did this calculation. I just looked at last week of the number of, and I want to be very clear, especially to listeners, like this is a 12-week thing. This is not like a lifetime thing, because I've gone through the process of like disordered eating and all of that stuff, which is written about in my book. So I want to be very clear.
And you also have a trainer, and you have someone who is monitoring
exactly
what's going on.
That's exactly it. And I have you, and I have, the folks at FitBody, who are my peers and all of that. So that's very nice. It's all done in a very controlled setting. But it was very interesting to see that I calculated like the number of calories that I ate last week and the number of calories that I actually burned last week. And that was a fascinating thing to see, that like last week I burned close to 5,000 calories in a week and only consumed a total of like 11,000 calories. And so it was just, it's interesting just to see the math of that. And I'm like, I'm glad I only have 8 weeks left.
Did you say 5,000 and 11,000? Did you mean 15,000? You burned 15,000?
No. Like the total number of calories that I consumed was like in the 11,000 range. But like a little less than half of that was burned off
Gotcha.
in exercise.
That's right, because you need
Right.
a certain amount of calories just to
Right.
exist.
To actually live, you know.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, so physically, like those are the things that are going on. As I said to Roberto when I came in, I am, I am sore, but I do feel good. I feel good. And hungry because I'm a pitta and I like to eat. And somebody brought today to Fit Body these protein balls that were like
Dicks.
total dicks. I was like, you suck. She's like, would you like the last one? I'm like,
Yeah, I would.
Yes, I would.
really would.
Yes, I really do want one of those. Really, but I'm like, but you know what? Thank you, no. But in 8 weeks, if you bring me a whole bag of those, I'm gonna eat the whole damn thing. So it's pretty
What are
funny.
you doing to me?
I know, you're killing me. But I mean, her intentions were great.
I know.
She was super sweet.
Yeah.
And didn't necessarily know like what I'm doing and all that. So, energetically, I would say that I feel good. And one of the things that's coming like to the fore right now is just being very diligent with my interactions with people. Like as I'm going through this phase of cutting, that, who am I interacting with? Are those interactions purposeful versus like, just pimp my energy out, that kind of thing. So that's been a very interesting thing to examine. Mentally, emotionally, I feel very clear. Very
Nice.
clear, very focused. The Dharma circle this week was amazing. It was like the cherry on top. And I think all of the gals in the group felt that. So that was just amazing. And just seeing where everybody's at, and I like watching that growth is just lights me up.
Yeah.
Consciously, I feel extremely aware of what's going on. I actually feel like the universe has my back right now, and like things are shifting amidst eclipse season, and we got like a Mercury retrograde coming up, and all of that. So for those of you that are listening out there, Mercury retrograde is on its way, and it may affect you with eclipse season through the end of April. So but then we're getting closer to really nice weather. So
Yeah.
Yep. And spiritually, I'm nailing my meditation practice. I'm excited about that. So like meditating every morning, 4:00 in the morning, the alarm goes off. I sit up, do the meditation, and then I get rolling with my day.
Nice.
Yeah. So good stuff.
I love my walk in the morning with bonsai. It's one of my favorite things.
Yes.
So
It's like that quiet, right? Like that very auspicious
there's
time.
not a lot of cars out.
Ah,
4:30 in the morning.
it's wonderful. It's awesome. Do you get up at 4:30 or 4?
I get 4:10 is when my alarm goes off.
That's funny. Mine goes off at 4, but I get out. I get up after the meditation, so we're roughly the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're probably not even walking until about 5. So, but yeah, there's still not a lot of cars out.
No,
And it's just him and me, just his little pitter patter.
just doing the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is he like revved up in the morning?
He is.
He is.
He likes the cooler weather.
He does.
He's revved up.
He is. He's like,
Yeah.
let's do this thing.
We get out and it's like over 60 and he's like, Mom,
No.
it's too hot out here. I gotta lay down.
But he's Cuban. That's what I don't
know.
understand.
Havanese.
I
Come
know.
on. He's like, I need a shave if you're gonna bring me out in this heat, Mom.
He's what is that? What is that? The old I forgot was it a tequila commercial or something like that? Stay thirsty, my friends. The Cuban guy. I forgot. That guy was legendary.
Yeah.
So that's what I think of bonsai. He's like got a cigar. He's got the hat.
But when I do,
Exactly. Stay thirsty. All right. Well, I'm sure everybody is like, all right, get on with your show here. Okay.
wheels have come off.
They have come off. So we're going to start with an appropriate reading from the book. I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but this is chapter 4 of my book, From Pain to Power. And the title of it is Fire. So this is going to be weird, me reading my words. Okay. I was born a fire child. There are no two ways about it. This element of transformation has always had a natural propensity inside of me, and one that I know has been passed down through generations of familial lineage. In my blood family, fire has shown up in a variety of ways: anger, frustration, yelling, alcoholism, passion, commitment, and mental illness, to name a few. For me, my fire showed up with anger at first, and then later through overfunctioning, control issues, and mental illness. And currently, at the ripe age of 48 years old, through creativity, focus, and determination. Nobody will stop me. Nobody. Now, let me be clear. It's not that those other fire expressions don't still show up. Boy, wouldn't that be great? They continue to be ever present in my life, believe me. But the difference now is my awareness around them and my ability to transform them into something that benefits me and those I love, and not something that takes away from my or others' power. I truly believe it's all in how you choose to use it. Have I been 100% successful? Not even close. But with each day, it gets better and more illuminating and exciting. So I wanted to share those first couple of paragraphs because as we talk about energy, and I, of course, want your take on all of this, I'm a big believer that your energy needs to be purposeful. And so when we talk about this like second layer of the self, this Pranamaya Kasha, that word prana meaning life force, and how powerful it is as an expression of ourselves, but also we can use our personal energy in really crappy ways, and we can also use it in very productive ways. And I think, and I'd love your take on this, that unfortunately, I think that there is a large portion of society, and I was reflecting on the podcast we recorded last week as well. I think that there is a large portion of the female population that isn't diligent or purposeful with the use of their energy. So I'd love your take on that.
I work at a high school.
I'm going to take a drink of water while you're saying that.
Yes. As you were actually talking about your wellness check-in and the energy and you've been really trying to focus on who you engage with.
Yes.
That's what came up for me was I feel like I've learned over the years, this is my 22nd year of teaching, and I don't know if you'd call them boundaries, or I think most people probably would. My boundaries of who I let into my room are pretty high. I think people get the vibe that it's not open season to just come in and just bother me with your drama or
now, would you say that from a student perspective?
I would mainly from a student perspective, but I think also adults get the vibe as well. Because I'm pretty lonely at work as far as I don't interact a lot. I interact with coworkers when shit needs to get done.
Yes.
But otherwise, in passing, like I just, again, trying to be as productive as I can at work, but not diving too deep into the drama of things.
Oh, yeah.
And
you're not a faculty lounge kind of gal.
No, I'm not. So
that's so interesting. I mean, it does not surprise me at all, and like totally champion it same exact way. But what's fascinating just about that, because I taught high school as well, the amount of expended non-purposeful energy that happens in a faculty lounge, unfucking believable.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue. I'm sorry.
And it is not very productive. Like it's very unproductive, what goes on. And so when students, I just think that students feel that. I've had students say that when they come into my room, it's very calming. Like it's a calm environment, which that's what I want. And I think the reason why it is a calm environment is because I don't have that leftover dramatic energy that keeps coming in and out. I notice other coworkers that are maybe seen as the more popular teachers, and not that I don't like those people either.
Of course.
Like some of them are like, this one individual in particular is one of my favorite.
People.
Yeah, one of my favorite people.
It's great.
But what I see in this teacher is they are kind of sucking the life out of this individual.
Yes.
And because this individual opens up their room to the
Whatever.
drama, you got something going on, come in and talk to me, and they're just exhausted and they're just wiped out. And you take a person who is really a good teacher and wants to do a good job, but because they don't have the energetic boundaries, they burn out and they can't
Number
do it
one reason
for
why
very
people
long.
stop teaching.
Yeah.
Burnout.
And it's like, you can't do that for a very long period of time. And I don't think I ever really did that.
No.
Again, that's just not in my personality, I don't think. Or maybe I just knew. I'm like, I can't sustain that with having, people come in and out and drama and this person said this and how do I break up with this person? It's like, oh, I don't care.
Right. Well, and one of the core things, and I discuss this a little bit later in the chapter, but one of the core things is, the idea of fire in this particular chapter. Fire is the most transformational element out of all 5 elements, because, excuse me, when something is put through the fire, it transforms into something different. So if I put a piece of paper in the fire, it is no longer a piece of paper, it's ash. And so something alchemically has happened. And it's a metaphor for, our lives. It can be destructive or it can be transformational. And I think that the diligence around how we use our energy tends to lean in our culture more towards the destructive, and like big picture, like there's government stuff and blah blah blah, like all of that. But when you give this example of teachers and people that we know in our lives, etc., who put out all of this energy, and they don't rejuvenate, that ultimately the only person who gets quote unquote destroyed is that individual.
Yeah.
And I think about, we both thought, the Dharma circle was amazing this week, and it really was. So there's also energetic situations that you can actually get energy from, where you're inspired, and that fire, that transformative experience, turns it into something towards enlightenment, turns it towards something that we grow from, that we learn, we develop, we cultivate. And I tend to see that those experiences are more organic than forced situations. And I see this with women all the time. You see it, at the high school level with colleagues. I see it with women who are like, well, I have to be everything to everybody. And I had this conversation today with a gal who came in to Fit Body. She took the 6:15 a.m. class, and I really like her. She's just a really great gal. And she's like, I think I need to start committing to this more, but, I have A, B, C, D, all of these things. And I'm like, if you don't give to yourself, that rejuvenative, pranic, energetic quality, like you're headed for a faceplant. And that kind of flipped it on its head for her. And she was like, I'm going to think about that. So
Did you give her that replacing the but with and?
Yes.
So I need to do this more. And how do I fulfill these other things while giving more time to myself?
Absolutely.
On that same vein, teaching can also be an extremely energetic in a positive way when you have a lesson where kids are like, they're getting it.
Yep.
and they're talking about stuff, and you're having those great interactions and conversations. And I guess the problem, not problem, but the situation is, I always want that
Yes.
without the other, without the other stuff.
And therefore we suffer.
Yeah, and therefore we suffer. And I don't know. I don't, doesn't mean that I don't care about what is going on in their lives. I just feel like so much of it seems very trivial, which I know it is not to them.
Not to them.
And it's also kind of what we talked about last time. How do we create this resilience instead of just going, you poor thing, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like,
Yep.
How do we create that resilience where they can figure it out themselves? And
Mhm.
if you're constantly listening to their problems and trying to solve them, like, when are they ever learning?
Well,
So.
what's really interesting about that point that you bring up, and I would say this kind of across the board, is in the situation that you're like, it's not that you don't care about them,
Mhm.
et cetera. Obviously, if there was an emergency situation, you would be there, all of
Mhm.
those things. But what you're actually doing, and this is a very Vedic, a very yogic, a very Ayurvedic thing, is you are shutting out for them the stuff that they don't need so that they can actually get the enrichment it is that they do need, that is going to provide that energy and that cultivation and that movement towards enlightenment and that positive overall feel.
Yeah.
So, if we look from an Ayurvedic perspective, that idea of prana, this life force, you can either completely deplete it, and then what that translates to in our physical bodies is the loss of ojas, our immune system. We get completely depleted. We get sick. We get in a state of disease. Or we can do life-affirming activities like meditation, exercise, yoga, proper diet, et cetera, that increases our pranic bank account, that increases our ojas, that increases our immune system. So, and I just to go back to the high school thing, like I don't know what your high school cafeteria is like, but I could probably imagine. Okay. So, and this is like, what is your cafeteria like, people out there, in terms of like, what is your kitchen like? So,
And if they don't go to the cafeteria,
right.
where are they going?
Exactly.
Or Dutch Bros,
Right.
or
Yep. Or the vending machine.
Sonic.
Right.
I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. Or the vending machine where, I just remember, I think back in high school, and we actually had, when I was in high school, I didn't go to public school, but we had actually a family that did all of the cooking in the cafeteria. It wasn't like, a lot of times they have catering companies now that do it like district wide, et cetera, but, and they actually made like home cooked meals. But, then again, I went to high school many years ago. That being said, even then, like, kids were still eating, Skittles and Starburst and all of that kind of stuff. So, like, they're getting the low pranic energy from these food-like substances, which starts to deplete their immune system. And then they move into these drama-driven conversations and interact with faculty who are helping them stir that pot.
Not to mention they're sitting for 90 minutes sometimes at a time under fluorescent lighting.
There we go.
There's lots of,
Yes,
they're dealing with a lot, bombarding their system.
And then that translates into adulthood.
Yeah.
Because, like, what does the average adult do? Like, eat shit food, work at a desk,
sit on their butt,
sit on their ass, and under fluorescent lights, and the whole thing. I mean, so these are pranic and ojas depleting things that happen. And so going back to the purpose of this podcast, it's like, how can we purposefully focus our energy? If I came to you and I said, Prajna, can you give me the top 1 to 3 things to do in order to purposefully use my energy? Say I'm a colleague of yours at school. What would you say? Not to put you on the spot.
Ways to purposely use energy?
Purposefully.
Purposefully.
Where would you start?
As to how to fix, I would start with food.
Okay.
Food would be a big one.
All right.
Because I know a lot of teachers as well. They've got the coffee in
and
the
the
morning.
donut.
They've got the donut. They've got the just very little health food. So I would start there. I would go energy in the body, exercise on your prep, get out, get in nature, get out from under the fluorescent lights and go for a walk, 10, 15 minutes. Doesn't have to be long.
Doesn't take a lot.
And what's amazing is a lot of teachers will say, well, I just don't have the time. But you have the time to talk to a colleague for 10 minutes and waste that and then try to go grading instead of both of you walking together. Or you find that you're so much more productive when you take that nature break and just go outside for 10 minutes. You come in and you're like, oh, okay, now I'm ready to go. You're just refreshed. And I speak from experience because 75 hard.
Oh, God.
Like I was walking during my prep 45 minutes and that only left me 45 minutes to go, but I still got everything done.
Of course you did.
And
because you purposefully used your energy. See, and that's what I'm getting at. Like a lot of people, like you say, like, oh, I don't have time. I don't, et cetera. No, actually, and
maybe that would be the next thing is journaling where you have the time. Like where can you get this exercise? How can you prepare this food? Where are you missing or losing that time that you say you don't have?
You're spot on. And that is exactly why I brought up at the beginning with our wellness check-in the calorie consumption and the calorie burn that I did this week. Because I wanted to do the math around this. I'm like, how am I expending? Because it's energy. It's prana. How am I expending my energy? What is focused on it? And then like I did a calculation of the number of hours, like then I went down the rabbit hole. It was like, this is fascinating to me. This is how many calories I took in. This is how many calories I burned. And this is the amount of time that I spent on this. And when I did that calculation, because I would say on average, just with the burning of the calories with exercise, this week, I would say that about 28 to 30 hours of minutes. I mean hours, but went into that. And I thought to myself, I was proud of myself. And at the same time, I also thought, how many people do that by scrolling on their phone? So when people are like, oh no, I don't have any time, etc. I'm like, if you calculated when you sit down and you start scrolling on your phone, like how many, and we should find that out. We should find out the average American hours that go into that kind of thing. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Fascinating to me. So purposefully using our energy. I also think with using our energy purposefully, it is blocking out, creating that energetic force field around yourself of like, you know what, you get access, others don't. And this is a thing, especially with women. A lot of women feel like, oh, I should be welcoming to everybody. I should let everybody in the circle. And I'm here to say, ladies, incorrect. Incorrect. Guard your energy as if it were your bank account. We talk about this all the time. You have to consider your Pranamaya Kasha, your energetic body, like a bank account. In the morning, you make a deposit. Have you increased your savings throughout the week, or are you at negative and incurring overdraft fees? So it's pretty fascinating. And so I challenge all of you to make a list of who are the people that increase your prana, your life force, that you're like, yes, I get something really good out of this relationship. And who are the people that just suck it right out of you? And then what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. And when you say suck it out of you, to maybe be thinking about gives you anxiety.
Yep. Good.
Makes you angry.
Yes.
Makes you sad, makes you jealous, makes you, all of those things would be something to kind of think about when you're looking at the two types of people versus someone who's supportive, someone who lifts you up, someone that you just feel good around.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. I'm going to continue. I'm going to skip over a few paragraphs, and I'm just going to, let's see. Okay. So I used to be ashamed of the fire. I used to hide it to the point of pretending to be someone I was not. Kind of like the classic yoga person in modern society. If I fake my spirituality long enough, I'll make it. Ha. I used to believe all of the bullshit propaganda and public opinion out there about anger and rage, like nice girls don't get angry, women don't fight. Anger is unattractive, and that rage is scary and violent and just leads to a miserable life. Fuck that. Maybe in some circumstances these musings are true, and I don't disagree that fire, anger, and rage can be destructive in nature. I certainly have experienced my fair share, but it is also the most creative force I have ever experienced. It burns away samskaras and karma, and there is nothing more liberating than that. Just ask the Shaivists and the Tantrics. They call it tapas, the heat of austerity or discipline. The word tapas is derived from the root Sanskrit verb tap, which means to burn, and evokes a sense of fiery discipline or passion. Burning away shitty energy. Mm-hmm. When you are not, the best way to purposefully use your energy is to, going back to the list, who gives you good stuff, who takes away, and allow those, quote, relationships to burn.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the most challenging things with women across the board, I think with people across the board, that they feel a sense of obligation in relationships. I myself am going through this right now with like my own family members. It's like I am very different from them, and I love them very, very much. I'm very different from them. And I also know that that energetic is, it just brings my immune system down, my light down, etc. And some of the toughest ways, or some
technology better, but as you were speaking to that, I was thinking of a forest. When you have a forest that has too many trees.
yes.
And when you think about, specifically, we're talking about women who try to hold on to all of the friendships and relationships because they feel like that's what they should do, and that's creating their forest.
Or who they used to be.
Yeah. But they feel like they got to keep it all.
Yep.
And when you have a forest that has all of those trees in it, and then you get a spark, like shit burns down and the whole thing. So to manage the forest and keep it healthy, you've got to take some of those trees out, and you've got to, and sometimes the burning does need to happen to keep everything healthy.
Yep.
And so I was just thinking of that from that analogy, because I think, in nature we always see answers, but when you've got too thick of a forest, man, that fire's going to be pretty destructive.
Yep.
And it's going to be fast and it's going to be furious versus a controlled burn where, you take some of those people out. It's purposeful. Yep. It's purposeful. And you're taking some of those people out that just don't fit anymore.
Yep.
And it's okay.
And I think that is the largest message there. It is okay. It is okay to allow for the burn to happen. And sometimes relationships just fall away, which is nice. I think, again, some of the more challenging ones are when we have family members and we have that blood tie. And I was actually thinking about that the other day. It's like, why is that more complicated? Is it more complicated because we have this, and this is a deep dive that, I'm really interested in, is it because there is this biological connection that makes it more difficult?
Or the societal obligation.
Bingo.
Like, these are supposed to be the people that you're the closest to.
Right.
Because you grew up around them.
Right.
Or
you came out of one of them.
impose their beliefs on you.
Yes.
From 0 to 7. Like, these are the people that you've always been around. So why wouldn't you want to hang out with them?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
well,
because I don't really identify with them anymore all the time.
And I think that's one of the major things. And I think our energy becomes less purposeful when we are pulled in those two directions. Like, actually, I am acknowledging that I'm growing and I'm moving in this direction, but I still feel tethered and pulled back. And so, gals, I'm in that inquiry with all of you who are there.
I am too.
You are too.
Yep.
You are too.
I've had many times when I'm like, I don't know who this family is.
Exactly. Am I adopted?
Yeah.
I've asked that question many times.
And just, the pressure to feel like you have to be somebody that you really don't feel like you are anymore.
Yep.
And
you said that when I spoke to you about it this week. You're just like, I think that they want you to be somebody who you're not.
Yeah.
And I'm just not that. And many years have gone by, and a lot of stuff has happened there, that has continued to cultivate, much like the teacher's lounge, and I've been so removed from it that, like, the growth in the direction they don't see. And so, like, there's just a disconnect. So
yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Purposely using your energy. So before we wrap up and before we go into our weekly oracle card, if you were to give one bit of advice on how to use your energy purposefully, what would it be?
I always like to go back to awareness and just be aware of, I think in order to change anything, you have to be aware of how you're using it.
Yep.
And
being really honest.
Yeah. And being aware of the patterns that you see, and when this person comes in the room, how do I change my, stature or personality? Yeah, awareness.
Love it.
What about you?
Meditation. I have found that, and I think ours two are linked.
Yes.
I think meditation is the action that will create the awareness. So meditation practice, even if it's like 2 minutes, I think that will allow you to become aware and then say, okay, how do I want to spend my prana points?
Yeah. We're talking like 5 deep breaths. Like,
seriously.
It's not
rocket science.
No. Again, meditation has become this thing that people feel like they can't obtain, and it's not that.
Nope.
It's quite simple.
It is.
So.
Love it. Let's pull the oracle card.
Okay.
What do you got for us today? We are pulling once again from the Life Purpose deck. Dun, dun, dun.
Nutrition.
No flocking way.
You conduct healing work with your culinary skills.
Ooh. See, it all starts with the food body, and it translates up to the energy body.
The angels say that you're a food alchemist, which means that you create divine magic through the dishes that you make and your nutritional knowledge.
Of course, you have to talk about food, right, on a 1,200 calorie day. Ugh.
You may counsel others on how to adopt a healthful diet and demonstrate this skill for your friends, family members, or clients. Perhaps you're guided to write a cookbook, run a restaurant, or prepare delicious recipes for others. Your interests may also lead you to study nutrition and teach about its importance. You're a sensitive person who's affected by the foods and beverages you consume. You've noticed that your energy, and moods waver according to what you eat and drink. Because you've paid attention to these nutritional links, to your own emotional and physical health, you've learned firsthand how what you take into your body affects you. This may compel you to read books or enroll in classes on this topic. You may even earn a nutrition degree, which will enable you to help others. As you call upon the healing angel's help, you'll find that unhealthful cravings are replaced with an appetite for healthful meals and drinks. This, too, is a process that you can teach others.
Yum.
Mm-hmm.
It goes, Pranamaya Kasha, food body, which translates right up to how do we purposefully use our energy.
Yep.
Got to have good nutrition from all aspects, not just, actual food and drink, but the relationships we have and all that good stuff. So,
yeah.
Awesome.
I want to give a last shout out to the fire ceremony that we did in India.
Yes.
Yes. Never the energy that was there during that ceremony. If anyone ever gets a chance to do that, like that is the key essence of fire burning away. Again, the good, the bad, the just transforming. Highly recommend it if you can ever make it to India.
Hey, you know what? We will be going back at some point in time. So
yeah,
we'll see if we bring a bunch of folks with us.
Yep.
So I appreciate that. I am going to also shamelessly talk about the 3 workshop series that you and I and Jeannie Fisher from Fit Body Boot Camp, we're going to be doing April, May, and June. So, folks, if you are local to Boise, we are going to be conducting a 3 workshop series. Excuse me. The first one is on April 27th. All of these are Saturdays. They're all at 10 a.m. and they are all at Fit Body Boot Camp in Boise. That is on Eustick and Cole. First one is what your body constitution means for you. So find out what your body type is like. What are the things that you can use to energetically live purposefully with your body? And what are the things that, based on that constitution, you just need to be aware of? The second one is going to be about sex and alcohol. That's going to be a popular one.
Yeah, it tends to be a popular one.
Actually, I'm sorry, that's the third one. The second one is on sleep hygiene and the 4 pillars of health, because when we talk about the 4 pillars of health, sleep is number 1, and why is it so important? And then the third one is on sex and alcohol and the impact it has on your body. So first one, body constitution, April 27th, 10 a.m. Second one, sleep hygiene and the 4 pillars of health on Saturday, May 11th. And the third is the impact sex and alcohol have on your body on Saturday, June 8th. We're trying to get them all done before the summer break and everybody goes into the woods or disappears or whatever it is that they do over the summer. So if you are local, definitely join us. They are $30 per workshop, or if you want to just purchase the entire series, which I highly recommend, it will be $75, so it'll save you $25. But once again, free book if you join our online community. If you are interested in finding out more about that, go to thewomanwarrioracademy.com and look up the Woman Warrior online community. Give us your information, and we will send you information when we are ready to launch. So everything it is that we talked about will be in there.
Yep.
All the things.
Yeah.
Anything else, my love?
No, I think that's it.
Oh my God, so great as always.
Yeah.
It is wonderful to do this with you. And thanks once again to SB Studios for allowing us to use your space.
It's awesome.
So good. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We are always happy that you're here. And Jai Bhagwan, may your soul be victorious.
Is life hard? Yeah, it's really fucking hard. And you can also have the life it is that you want. You just got to work for it.